Awesome. This is exciting. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We've had just an increased number of people that have been asking about how to set up their Peloton bike and or having issues with that. So that's what basically prompted us to want to help people out and really easily address these things at home. And so that's our goal today, is just allow them to start off in a safe way and or just refine their positioning to address any issues they may be having. So we're just gonna have just 3 take-home easy things that people can do to really modify their position and make it the best position for them. So my name is Dr. Tim Tracy, and I'm a physical therapist. I work at Physio Room, and we're in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. And my expertise is in treating cyclists, whether that's just addressing pain, whether it's addressing their movement flaws on and off their bike, and or getting an individualized training program so they can continue to train and progress pain-free. And along that spectrum, at some point, is a bike fit. So that's what we're going over today. So what exactly is bike fitting? So the next one. So it's basically, how can we just optimize your position on the bike so that you can make the most power, have the most comfort, and basically, have the most enjoyment possible. And it's important to understand that not just general positioning just doesn't work for the majority of people. And a lot of things out there that I've seen as far as tools or resources for people to get set up are really just set up for the masses and don't take into account the individualization that each person has. So everybody is different, whether it's the ratio of their torso to their legs, whether it's their reach. All these things are gonna modify how each person, their comfort on the bike. So that's what we're gonna go through today, is how can you individualize the setting for you and give you these tools so that so you can make the most performance and have it be as comfortable as possible. So there's 3 things we're going to go through. So step 1 is seat height. Step 2 is going to be the seat forward and back. So go ahead, next slide. So forward and aft, and then the third part is your handlebar height. So we're going to run through these, and then we're going to wrap that up with how can people position themselves so we can have the best position possible, but how can they work on their body positioning, and so how can they make the most of kind of these new positions. So that's kind of the sequence that we're going to go through today, and kind of show you different ways that you can address this and what you want to look out for as far as if you're having certain symptoms. How can you change up your position? So I am lucky to be joined here by Becky. She is a relatively newcomer to the Peloton, and so she was starting to have some issues as she got started out as well. So at first she thought she was in a real comfortable position, which it was comfortable for the first couple rides. But then as that time accumulated, then that's when she started having some issues in her hip and then the side of her knee. And so we're going to run through some of the changes that we made for her positioning and tell you the symptoms that we had and why we changed those positions. So we will get started here. So let's go ahead and we're going to have Becky go ahead and step up on here. And so she's going to go ahead and start pedaling. So we're going to start with her seat height. And so here's how she was originally set up here. And so it looks pretty comfortable, but just the first thing off is you can kind of see from the side, as she reaches down with her pedal foot, her hip is dropping down to the side a little bit. And so she was having some pain on the outside of her knee. And as she was pedaling, she was reaching down here and she's using all these tissues right here. You go ahead and stop here. So what was happening is because her seat was too high, that was causing a lot of load on the tissues on the side of her leg. And that what that did was that manifested in some lateral knee pain that she was having. So basically, yeah, this looks good. So, but we're going to use what's called the heel method. So this is a way that you can really get in a good ballpark as far as if your seat is too high. And so it's basically just like what it sounds is you're unclipping on she has, you're putting your heel on the pedal where you would clip in. If you don't have clips, that's fine. Just regular tennis shoes or whatever shoes you will typically ride in work just fine. And so you're putting this here, and she has the pedal at the furthest position away from the seat. So some people, go ahead and bring your foot down. It's thought that they'll put it straight down. Well, then that doesn't take into account this furthest reach. So that's where we want to be, is the furthest position away. And then can she lock out? She can, but when she does, her hip is still dropping down. So that's an indicator that the seat is too high. Some people have had, they're like, well, I think I'm dropping down. So one way you can compare or really confirm that is do the other leg as well. Is making sure that one, and then as you can see, like this hip comes up here as well. So then we, definitely doubly confirm that this seat is too high. So what we'll do is she'll go ahead and step on down. And then, so we're just going to lower this slightly. And so you just go like small increments. And the numbers on the Peloton are awesome. And so you can just, I think we just went down from the 15 to a 14. And then we go back to this same position here. And then her heels on the pedal, her knee is locked out. And as she does that, her hip isn't dropping down to the side. So we just had to make a small adjustment with her because, like I said, she felt pretty comfortable, but it was over time, this rocking, and that was like what was contributing. So we didn't have to make a huge change. And then, so as she go ahead and clip in and pedal, and then as she's pedaling, her hips aren't rocking to the side. So that's the biggest telltale of anyone if their saddle's too high, if their hips are rocking side to side as they pedal. And so and then we can also just confirm here that we're in a good position. So when we're straight down, we have this slight bend in her knee. So basically a good position to be in is 25 to 35 degrees. And with that heel method, that puts us in that ballpark. From there, we can always modify it, but this is, like I'm saying, we're just starting out to get people in a safe position where they can start pedaling without worry about any lateral knee pain. If the seat is too low, people will get, it's classic anterior knee pain. So Becky she was on the other side of that, and that was classic for the lateral knee pain. If we were to go down lower, then her bend as she would go down to pedal would be a lot more, and that puts a lot more strain on her thigh muscles. And what will happen is they'll manifest in some anterior knee pain. So that's how you know if you've gone too far, if you're just feeling like your thighs are doing a lot more work than anything else. So this is, like I'm saying, so this slight bend, and so that's gonna be ideal position to start with for her seat height. So once we have that established, then we want to look at her seat going forward and back. And this one is even easier. She's going to stay clipped in. We're going to bring her foot to where her pedal, her crank here is level with the ground. And then we're looking at where is her kneecap in relation to where she's clipped in, or where your pinky toe hits the pedal spindle. So that is what our marker. So we don't want this extending past this. We definitely don't want it real far behind. So you can kind of see, and we have a few ways to measure this. If you don't have someone else helping you, what you can do is just grab a string, you know, any sort of lightweight on it, and then you just put it on the end of your kneecap, and then you drop it down. And so what you can see here is that this is a little behind where her pedal, where the middle of her pedal is. And so what that causes is, as she's reaching down, that is still gonna put, that's gonna put a lot of strain in the back of her knees. So people that are having calf pain or having lower hamstring issues, even proximal, because these tissues are stretching out a lot more. And so what we want to do is bring her seat forward from there. So, and you can stay right there. So I'll just unlock this. And again, you're always just like making real small changes at a time. So even, especially for people that have been riding for a while, even if you're way off of these, don't recommend making huge changes all at once just to kind of fit this picture. You just want to go edge into these directions, pedal for a while, you know, ride or two, and then make changes, you know, incrementally is the main thing. So no big changes at one time. So we're just doing this small change, and so then she's already level. Take her plumb right on the end of her kneecap, and then what you can see is, oh man, I nailed it. So then the top of her kneecap intersects exactly with this middle of the pedal. And so that is a real good spot to start with. Like I said, if this is too far forward, some people will have the knee intersecting like they don't want to go over the toes. That's a really aggressive position. So I've seen that like on a couple resources. And again, I want to give people like the best position to start out so they can be safe. This is by far the most neutral position. So using the pedal bottom, front of the kneecap. If you don't want to use that, there's other ways to do it. So you can just put like a foam roller, a straight edge, and then you can have a mirror basically to the side, and then you just put this here. You want to put it to where the front of her kneecap is in line here, and then you can kind of see, you know, where I'm at in line with this, and then just you know, just using the mirror and see like, oh. But usually the pedal or the plumb bob is going to be your best bet. And so the first step is the seat height. Second step is the seat forward and back, and then we're going to look at her handlebar height. So the biggest thing I'll see with handlebar height is people want to have it up higher than they need. So they want to start out super comfortable, which is comfortable usually for the first couple of minutes, 5, 10 maybe. And then they start to realize like, oh man, I'm having some discomfort, you know, in the saddle, and they blame the seat. Like, oh, this seat is too narrow. I need a couch to sit on. Well, a lot of it is just got too much pressure going down into their saddle. So an easy way to see like how low can I get my handlebars is we're gonna individualize this. So go ahead and have you step off. And then what we can do is we're going to come out here. And then we want to see what is their flexibility like in their low back, their glutes, and their hamstrings. So all I have her do is I want you to put your feet together, and then can you go down and touch your toes? Easily. So no problem at all. So if someone can go down and get relatively close to their toes, then then we know like a good starting point is going to be, they can either is having the handlebars level with the seat. So if Becky could only go down to the middle of her shins, so go ahead and like, if she can only go to about there, then a starting point is going to be 1 to 2 inches, the handlebars above the seat. And then say she can only reach her knees, which is again super common. Then we know we're going to start this up about 2 to 4 inches above where the seat height is. So we'll always do this last because we want to get the seat position set up first, and then we come to here. So with Becky, since she has great flexibility of her low back and her hamstrings, and the handlebars here are well above the seat, then we know that she is more than capable of having like her handlebars a little lower. And what that does is it gets her out of this upright position. She doesn't have as much pressure going down to the seat, and then she can also tap into her leg muscles more, specifically her glute muscles. And so that is a huge thing that's neglected with cyclists is how can they distribute load equally throughout their whole leg and tap into our largest muscles in our body, so our glute muscles. So that's one thing we really want to take advantage of. And that's another important part of why getting the bike fit set up for you is so important, because people will just overuse their thigh muscles, and that's why so many people have knee pain, especially when they really only ride indoor bikes. So we're going to lower this. And so we have here, so some other things that we'll look at. So the bars, so Becky's not the tallest of stature.
Small but mighty.
Okay, so we have her bars pretty much level, so we can't really take these lower, but we also don't want to adjust her seat any higher or any differently, because that's going to throw off everything else that is comfortable for her. But we know, like right here, we have about a 90-degree angle in her shoulders. So her neck, so that's going to decrease, it's going to give her a good position so she's not hiking up her neck. And then also as she comes up here and pauses here, we have about a 45-degree angle here for where her pedal, her knee is all the way up. So we know that these are some good starting points with her. And then also she's not straight up and down, so she doesn't have a lot of weight going through her saddle, so that allows her to lean forward, and that allows us to tap into our glute muscles and distribute the load well and not overuse her thigh muscles. Okay, so go ahead and pedal a little bit. I'm just going to see, we make these changes, but then it's also having people pedal for a while and like make sure that it feels comfortable. So I have to, just because it looks good to me and it fit these dimensions well, we gotta make sure that it feels comfortable for them. And so that's another other thing that I want to drive home with people is like, it's still gotta feel good, but as long as you understand why we're making these changes, that's the biggest thing, because then you can play around with it as well. As once you find these positions, then you're like, okay, well, I'm having this issue, I can change it up a little bit, either higher or lower, whatever you need to do. So then once we have those 3 positions set, then it's about how is she positioned on the bike. And so a lot of this is what I'll keep people into is how can they control their pelvis. So like a pelvic tilt is super common exercise with yoga, PT, all over. So we want to incorporate that awareness onto the bike. So go ahead and pause. So if she has a real poor position, like if she's slouching a lot, she sits at desk a lot, then what we'll see is, we'll see that these people will kind of Still been here. They'll just, she's exaggerated, but still, we want to have people be aware that just because this feels normal to how you sit throughout the day, that can manifest in some back pain and tension in their neck as well. So a lot of it is having awareness of, you can modify your pelvis position here, having that awareness, and that's going to influence how much tension is in your low back, how much tension is in your hips. It's also going to manifest up the chain as far as tension in your neck. So once you have like awareness of your pelvis, then I just want people being able to just kind of relax their neck here. We want to have like a soft bend in their elbows, because we know, we'll see this a lot, is people that they'll lock these out, and what happens is they'll start to shrug here, especially to start getting fatigued, they're doing a high intensity effort. Then they'll get like a lot of tension here in their neck. And so that's where taking advantage of awareness about how you're moving on the bike after you get it set up is just as important. Because if you don't have this awareness, then you're still going to have issues no matter if you have a perfect setup or not. So go ahead and pedal a little bit more. So we'll have her, we'll cue her a little bit again, just make like a soft bend in her elbows. Make sure that her shoulder blades aren't hiking up towards her ears. She has good awareness about her pelvis. And then we go through that checklist that we did before. It's like, okay, her hips aren't rocking. We tell that her knees not extending past her toes. And everything else looks good. So then we know, like, okay, we're in a really good position for her, a really good starting point that we can get her going without worry about a lot of pain. But we still are, that's good. So we're still working on a few, so we got her out of pain. And now we're still working on getting her stronger so that as she rides longer, she's not, her core isn't getting fatigued. So it's not just, that's not the end point. So that's where, okay, we don't just stop there. We work on her strength off the bike so she can ride for longer periods on the bike. And so that's what we take people through. It's like, okay, we want to kind of reset, like, okay, for her, it's resetting her position. Once we did that, a lot of her symptoms went away. Because she was starting to have some pain when she was just sitting at her desk as well. And so once we got that down, okay, now we're working on restoring her function. So she's increasing her ride duration, and but now she's starting to have like a little bit of discomfort in the low back. And so basically it's working on increasing her core strength. But a lot of it is just giving her awareness for that, for her movement pattern. So as she gets fatigued, she's not sinking back into this low back, this rounded position. And then from there, then we're working on, once we progress that, then it's working on getting her even stronger so she can set new personal records and increase her performance and reach the goals, whatever goals that she has. So those are the stages that we take each person through. So it's not just getting them out of pain and like, okay, see you later. It's addressing, okay, what are the mechanisms, what are the components to each person's pain? It's not just singular, it's not just one thing or the other. All these things are going to be, there's multiple parts of it, and then it's weighing what is the most prominent thing for each person at each stage. So that's the main things that I wanted to highlight today, and then see if anyone had any questions or if there's any issues that anyone else wants to go over in more detail.
Where can they find you?
Oh, so you can find us at physioroomco.com and also on Instagram, PhysioTimT, and then also email is tim@physioroomco.com.